All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. Here he is. He's here. I was just getting started, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We had some technical difficulties we had to work through, but we're here. Another episode of the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. Duke, how you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good.
Good, good. Well, we were just getting going here. It's a nice little hump day, little Wednesday, midweek action. Got lots of college basketball going on that I am unfortunately invested in because I've placed a couple parlays tonight, Duke. We got a couple parlays going on. We need St. John's to win this game against Villanova. Okay, that's just all I'm going to say about that. Got a couple parlays. They are unfortunately in almost all of them. So we need St. John's to pull this one out. But other than that, got a question.
Rolled with Patino Hunt tonight.
Absolutely, it's always Patino for me, man. You know, he's a Kentucky legend. I would welcome him back with open arms. Hated him when he was at Louisville, though.
Oh. Yeah.
To get us started here, I did want
Patino.
Go ahead.
It's funny that I know this is off script, but it's funny with the Patino stuff that there is he gets that much flack. The post Louisville stuff, and then what did he do? Take 2 years off and went to Iona, turned that program around, and then parlayed that into St. John's.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, listen, you can hate the guy, and I know a lot of people that do, but you can't argue the results. I mean, the guy wins everywhere he goes.
I'm not.
Unorthodox as it may be, but everywhere but the NBA. He didn't do real well in the NBA, but I don't hate him. I mean, I wish he wouldn't have bolted from Kentucky for the NBA, but I understood why he did. I also was like fucking 8 years old at that time, so I didn't care. But then when he was at Louisville, he was enemy number one. And I mean, a former Kentucky coach coaching at Louisville, like, fuck you, you suck. And then Louisville did him dirty because they knew what was going on, and they were all for it as long as he was bringing in the banners. And then they got rid of him. But all in all, probably not one of the best guys in the world overall. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Maybe not somebody you want like mentoring your child, but I don't know. Maybe not a bad guy. I don't really know. I just know he was, he found ways to win. But before we kick off the show, yeah, allegedly. Before we kick off the show, I do want to send out our thoughts and prayers to the family of Ben Chrisman, who was a offensive lineman for Ohio State for a minute there, transferred, I believe, to Kentucky and then UNLV. 21 years old, was found unresponsive in his apartment today. I don't know much beyond that, but just awful, awful, awful situation. You can imagine what the family's going through, and then obviously being found in his apartment unresponsive leads to questions of what happened. And I don't know what happened. I know nothing about it, but overall, just really sad situation. Good kid. And hate to see that happen. So just wanted to start off with that before we got into things. But thoughts and prayers out to his family and loved ones and everything like that. He was seemed like a really good kid from everything I heard about him.
Yeah, it's I mean a big time tough situation. You never want to see that with the young people.
Yeah, so, I mean, he was only 21 years old. It's just terrible. Just terrible. But get to a question that was asked. What's up, Corey? What's up, Irish friends? Appreciate you tuning in. So Sid here asked, So has Texas talked to Mick or not? Reports are saying different things. Said my understanding is that Texas has narrowed it down to 3 candidates, which are Mickens, the Pitt secondary coach Corey Sanders, and then the Rutgers corners coach Mike Orphy. My understanding is that they've talked to all 3. I don't know that for sure. It could have been a phone conversation. I'm not saying he's interviewed, but from what I've heard from people around coaching, is that Texas has narrowed it to those 3 and has been in contact with all 3. Again, I don't know if it's been official interviews or just phone conversations or what, but that's my understanding of it. Unfortunately, this is part of what comes with being successful, right? You have these coaches that are going to move on, and these players that are going to move on, either to the NFL or to the transfer portal or whatever it is, and that's just part of it. And you lost Golden. I don't think anybody was shocked by that. He lost Dealand. I think that was a little more shocking, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. But Mickens would be a big blow. I think that's part of Marcus's future plans for the university and for the program. I think Mickens is a big part of that. I think eventually Mickens would become the defensive coordinator once Chris Ash does his stint. However, if he's getting opportunity elsewhere, there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's a safeties coach. It's not a DC, so maybe it just comes down to money, and maybe Notre Dame can match it. I don't know. But of those 3 coaches, Mickens is by far the best coach in my opinion. I don't know much about the Rutgers guy. Pitt guy I know a little bit about. But if I'm Texas, Mickens is number 1 on my list. And if I'm Notre Dame, Mickens is number 1 on my list to keep. And so it comes down to what can you offer him, right? Whether it's a co-DC title to keep him. Like the way it's with like Tim Walton just got co-defensive coordinator at Ohio State, and they hired an outside guy. Do you think that wasn't because Tim Walton would have left if they didn't? No, 100%. They gave him the title because he would have been out if they didn't do that. So I think if you're Marcus, you go back to Mickens and you tell him, hey, what's the offer? I would love for you to stay. What if we make you co-defensive coordinator so you and Chris Ash work well together and give him that title? I don't know, but I think if you're Notre Dame, you do anything you can to keep him.
I think it's, whatever you are, the hot or the premier program, your shelf life for a coaching staff's 18 months?
Yeah, well, I mean, for an entire staff, yeah, you got 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year, 18 months, somewhere in there. 2 years tops.
1 season is what I mean. Yeah. If you're going to the Natty, you got 1 season with that staff, and then you're going to lose at least 1 piece.
I think that there's a fine line in this, and we're going to talk about the Matt Patricia thing in depth later. But I think sometimes you got to be careful on who you promote, who you give job titles to, because not everybody's rocking with who gets promoted, and it's tough right now because a guy like Matt G's stuck between a rock and a hard place because he can't go to Penn State because they're pretty much full, and then you can't go to.
He got a promotion.
I mean, it's the pass game coordinator.
Yes, like this is what every university does. It's not, and we'll get into that in the Patricia stuff. But outside of that, yeah, if Coach said you're right. If Mickens wants out, he'll leave. I hope he stays, but he wants to be a DC. The thing is he's no closer to being a DC by going to Texas. He's still just going to be a safeties coach. Now, could he become the DC at Texas? Yeah, but he could do that at Notre Dame too.
Well, the thing at the when it comes to Notre Dame is that I feel like that we'll have the movement will be quicker than what it is at Texas, if that makes sense.
To become the DC?
Yeah,
it could be. I don't know. It 100% depends on the success of the program, and like if Marcus goes out and has a bad year, then Chris Ash might get fired, but that doesn't mean you hire Mickens as the DC. Like if you have a bad defensive year, you normally don't promote from within, right? So it doesn't speed up or slow down his trajectory at all by going to Texas. I think it's all dependent on how the thing goes over the next couple of years. But he's on track right now to become the DC, as long as they have good defenses and Chris Ash moves on his own timeline.
Well, I think the Ash timeline is probably going to be like the Golden timeline. What was Golden there 3 years?
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah,
I think it's that 24 to 36 month period. You're either going to get a head coaching job,
as long as you're good, yeah,
or you're
as long as you're good. If you're bad, you're going to get fired. And if you're bad, and maybe that's what Mickens is weighing, maybe he doesn't trust Chris Ash. And if he ties his wagon to Chris Ash's defense and the defense is not up to par, I promise you, if you have a bad defense and you lose the defense coordinator, there is not a head coach in the world that's promoting somebody from that defensive staff to DC. It's not happening.
It's I think it's a big wait and see game, because I don't think Chris Ash brought anybody with him, did he? I don't think so.
That staff was already set. No.
So
but Chris Ash is used to that. Like Corey said here, Ash hasn't been anywhere longer than 2 years. Like he's very used to coming into a situation where it's all established guys. So he's coming in, but he's used to doing that, and he's been co-DC before, and he's I think you give Mickens the co-DC title, you give him a bump in pay, and hopefully that's enough to keep him.
Right. I don't know. I feel like it's tough, even though Chris Ash has done it before, but sometimes I don't think you should be able to hang the sins of a guy that you bring in off the street. Like if Matt Patricia comes to Ohio State and craters, is it James Laurinaitis' fault or Larry Johnson's fault? Like they all forgot how to coach?
Oh, no.
You see what I'm saying there?
Yeah, but no. So what will happen is Chris Ash or Matt Patricia will get 2 years. First year, he'll get this year, which is with all of the existing staff. If it doesn't go well, he'll get to fire that entire staff and hire his own staff. And if it continues to not go well, then he gets fired.
I see the difference. I think Notre Dame and Ohio State, and I'll make this quick. I think these two defensive coordinator hires, I think they're going to be probably Jim Knowles had to lobby to get one guy with Ryan, which was Matt Guerrieri. And they had, that came at the expense of Perry Eliano.
Mm-hmm.
Was
Perry
Perry
done a pretty good job, by the way.
Yeah. Regardless of what some people want to tell you, it's, not the constant,
but anyways,
people not constantly keeping it a beam. It's hard to keep track, but the thing of it is that, you can have somebody that said that with the Patricia stuff is that I look at it as Detroit complete and utter failure. It was. You are what your record says you are. There's a lot of people, and every Belichick assistant besides Bill O'Brien has not had success.
Even Bill O'Brien didn't really, but yeah.
He pretty much cratered at Houston.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's all stuff that we can get into when we talk about Patricia. But In other news, there are just 3 head coaches in the history of the Super Bowl era that have a 700 win percentage career and a Super Bowl title. Obviously you can see the 3 there, right? You got Vince Lombardi, who the trophy's named after, won the first 2 Super Bowls. John Madden and Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, that's whenever I seen that on the internet, I'm like, that can't be right, but it would make sense because it's because I mean, the Eagles the last couple of years haven't lost many games other than they, completely cratered at the end of, I think, last season.
Yeah, they did. They started 10-1 last year, and I think ended 10-7 or something.
Yeah, they lost like 6 out of their last 6 out of the last 7.
Stupid. But yeah, I mean, so is Nick Sirianni the best coach in the NFL?
I still say no.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and like, it's he has such a fucking beast of a roster, and
Howie Roseman.
That good on Philly for putting it together. Like, I mean, I can't hate on it. Everybody has equal opportunity to put that roster together. They just haven't. Like, it's not like the MLB where you can just go buy players. It's not like the NBA where you need to win a lottery to get a pick. Like, it's designed to make it as even as possible. And they've done a better job than anybody in the draft and free agency. That's just point blank what they've done. Like,
well, I mean,
the Chiefs could have went out and got one. They didn't. The Chiefs could have went out and got AJ Brown. They didn't. I mean, it's just beautiful front office work getting this roster. And also, spoiler alert, if you draft Georgia defensive players, it tends to go well.
You mean the place with bad culture?
I mean, back then it wasn't. Back then it was the place with bags of money. But
it's to me it's just mind-boggling listening to what goes on in the media, and then the NIL stuff. I mean, did it level the playing field? Yes, but I mean,
yeah. It definitely, obviously it did. You can look at, I mean, the NIL has been around for 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah.
And it took a minute, but last year was Michigan versus Washington. This year, Ohio State versus Notre Dame.
Yeah.
If that's not leveling the playing field, I don't know what is. Because we all know the transgressions of the SEC. We all know, and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to bring it up. But NIL was a thing in the SEC before the NIL was a thing in the rest of the country. And now that it's a thing everywhere else, all of a sudden the SEC is not as dominant. I'm just saying it. Shoot me if you want to. But that's a fact.
I think that one of the things that the SEC is lacking on when it comes to the collectives and things like that is that there's not a bunch of big time industry in some of these SEC schools because, you have Georgia's Athens, Auburn, Tuscaloosa. They're not really major metropolitan cities, Columbus,
yeah, but they still have big money boosters. Like, yeah, they might not live in Tuscaloosa anymore, but like, what are we talking about? Like, Atlanta's 2 seconds away from Athens. They got plenty of access. You got Tyson Chicken is Arkansas's person, and like I don't even know where Arkansas is. Is it in Little Rock? I don't think so. But even if it is, Little Rock's not like a huge metropolitan metropolis. Like, don't miss me with that. They had plenty of money when it was illegal.
I mean, where would you rather be? Would you rather be in Columbus or Tuscaloosa?
Well, it doesn't matter where. If I'm an Alabama alum, I can live in Columbus and I'm still going to give my money.
No. I'm saying as an 18-year-old kid, where would you rather live?
Well, then why were they going to Tuscaloosa before?
Well, I mean, when all things are equal, you go to the place that pays you the most money.
So,
But
okay, I see what you're saying. So now that everybody can pay the money, it's harder to get them to go to these terrible places like Tuscaloosa.
yeah, but see the problem you have is
That narrative doesn't work with South Bend. I don't know. I mean, no shade on South Bend. I love South Bend, but not exactly a place where, like, if I'm 18 years old, I'm like, oh, I want to live in South Bend, Indiana. Like, no, fuck that. I'm going to go to South Beach.
but
Like, what are we talking?
I know we're over time here, but the difference is the Notre Dame thing's different than a lot of other places. Like, you actually have to go to class.
I understand.
You live on campus. You live in the dorms with other students.
Yeah.
This isn't, what you see on the Prime documentary where you don't even go to campus unless you're playing or practicing. So I think that and some of these kids, they don't have to step foot on campus, and I think that is also another selling point, and you can take all online classes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm also not going to
be careful. Be careful saying that, though. Marcus got in trouble for saying that. Ohio State people wanted to crucify Marcus Freeman for saying it's different at Notre Dame because you actually have to go to class. Sorry.
Well, the thing of it is that when it comes to Ohio State, you couldn't put all the top media members in one room and have everybody get along. Like come on. Like, yeah. What are we doing here? You have one podcast that, if you pay attention and read the tea leaves, you can obviously tell that they're lying. Some of them aren't even in the same ballpark. And then you have somebody that also was in the building that tells a totally different story on certain aspects of the Ohio State story that obviously are true and has no reason to lie about it. So you got to and no wonder the fan base hates each other. Like, what are we doing?
I don't know. That's neither here nor there. I'm not going to get into any of that.
I just look at it and I'm like, well, no wonder the whole fan base hates each other and they hate all the coaches because they don't know who's telling the truth.
Yeah.
You could make arguments on certain aspects of it, but I just look at it and, like, from intimate knowledge of certain people, that I'll ask them a question and they'll say, that's not real. That never happened. Who told you that? And I said, this person put it on wax, and he's like, and you just don't get a response. And sometimes not getting a response is a response.
Yeah, for sure. But let's go ahead and reset the show here and then get back into it. If you're out there, go ahead.
If you're out there watching on Twitter, come on over to YouTube, and I got TikTok up. It's the Andre Duke Show. That is the name of the YouTube channel. Hit that like and subscribe button. Help us grow this channel. We are on the road to 500, so any help is much appreciated. So with that being said, go ahead, Carter.
Yeah. Let's get a word from our partner real quick, and then we'll get back to it.
What's up, guys? If you have been watching the show for a while, you know, if you're like me, that you love a good nicotine pouch. So that's why we're super excited to offer our first ever promotion here on the show. ALP pouches, ALP pouches, the new standard in nicotine pouches. A better time with ALP pouches. A better time isn't just a tagline, it's a promise. We love nicotine pouches, and we're here to share that love. Better products, better experiences, and a genuine commitment to a better world. That's why a portion of every sale goes to real causes, not political players. Simple, honest, and yes, better. Best part about ALP pouches is you get more pouches in every tin. That's right, you get 20 pouches per tin as opposed to the regular 15. Also, tins come in 3 different strengths from 3, 6, and 9 milligrams, so you can pick your strength, and amazing flavors. All the pouches come with enhanced moisture, so no more dry pouches chafing your lips or giving you cuts and scratches on your inner lips. They come in all sorts of great flavors, all your typical flavors, or try my favorite, the refreshing chill or the tropical fruit in the 9 milligram. Alp isn't just better, Alp is the new standard. Created by real users, not suits in a boardroom, we've made the product they never could. So go over to alppouch.com/Duke Show. That's ALPPOUCH.com/Duke Show to get 10% off your first purchase of America's newest nicotine pouch standard.
All right, go out and get some Alp pouches. I just threw one of the tropical citrus or whatever in. Delicious. They are delicious. But in other news, is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT?
No.
Can he become the GOAT?
No.
Why not?
If you look at the stat line, we got roughly like a lot more wins to go, a lot more games, a lot more passing yards. Just from stats alone, got to win another MVP. He's going to be tough to do with Lamar and Josh Allen. Super Bowl MVP, got to win 2 more of those. Super Bowl wins, you need 5 more of those, and you can never redeem the head-to-head record.
Yeah, the head-to-head's the only thing that he can't do. But if you let's just say, based off years and games played, he's roughly 1/3 of the way through. If you multiply everything by 3, he wins.
Are we also going to get a time machine to keep Andy Reid around?
Andy Reid can coach another 20 years.
I think Andy Reid will be gone sooner rather than later. I'm
just saying, I think Mahomes is the GOAT. He's done more in a shorter time frame than Brady did. Now, longevity matters. As a LeBron supporter, longevity matters. So he's going to have to keep it up. But right now, he's ahead of where Brady would be.
Yeah, but you got to think when Brady started the first 10 years of Brady's career, the whole concept of the rules were fundamentally different.
Yeah, until he was going to lose and they changed the rules so that Charles Woodson's hit on him wasn't a fumble. Then all of a sudden that built his dynasty.
I'm not talking about the tuck rule. I'm talking about the defensive holding and
no, I know, but I'm just saying, like, Brady had rules changed and helped him to get there, and that's what's happened for Mahomes as well.
I don't necessarily know I'm talking about a fundamental overhaul of the rules. Like, you don't have Rodney Harrisons anymore ripping people's heads off. Like, you don't have that. You don't have that anymore. You can't even breathe on Mahomes. So I think that, if Brady would have
that's all because of Tom Brady, though. Tom Brady was the original Patrick Mahomes. Like, if you go back the second half of his career, if you even touched Tom Brady, it was a flag.
Can you believe I had it the other day. I didn't. I should have saved it, but it had the breakdown of his roughing the passer calls from the beginning of his career to the end of his career, and every single year he was under 10 roughing calls. And the league average was 7. He hovered right around the league average. So,
where's Mahomes?
There wasn't a breakdown of Mahomes, though.
Well, then how do you know that he's not right around the league average?
I just feel like the fundamental rules are totally different.
I agree, but regardless, Tom Brady's not my GOAT. Mahomes isn't my GOAT. I don't care. But my GOAT is Brady Quinn. I'm kidding, obviously.
You okay today, Carter?
No, he's a domer, baby. He's the greatest of all time. If he hadn't gone to Cleveland, he would have been one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. That's just.
No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it with a dollar.
I promise you. I promise you. I know him personally. He would have been one of the best ever if he didn't go to Cleveland. And I'm a Browns fan, and it hurts me to say.
I don't think Cleveland helped. I just think that.
No, Cleveland ruined him. But in other news, the Eagles just won a Super Bowl. Thanks a lot, in part, to the Carson Wentz trade. So, did you realize this? I didn't realize this. These are the players they got because they traded Carson Wentz, who, by the way, was a backup quarterback for
the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. So the team they just beat. So they traded away the Chiefs' backup quarterback. They got Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Carter, and White Mamba.
Yeah, that's a
haul.
Those are what probably going to be 4 Pro Bowlers next year.
Those are four of the best 6 to 8 guys on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like insane. And when Houston wins the Super Bowl, they'll probably do the same thing with the Deshaun Watson trade, because, God, that's going to be loaded, I'm sure, of the people that they got. But I thought that was interesting. What else we got here? 2012 quarterback class. This is insane. Now, 2012, now, they would be in year what? 12 or 13, going into 13 right now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the average life expectancy or the average career length of an NFL player is less than 4 years. So it's not shocking. But here is the 2012 quarterback class. Andrew Luck obviously famously retired in 2019. RG3 died 14 times and then retired in 2020. Ryan Tannehill, he was still in the league last year, wasn't he? Is he still in the league right now?
No, I don't know if he's officially retired yet or not.
Well, I know he hasn't officially retired, but he was with Tennessee, I think, even last year or the year before at least. But he went to the conference championship. Brandon Weeden, thank you, Browns, 28-year-old rookie. Brock Osweiler done after 2018. Russell Wilson, this is Hall of Famer. Are we sure? Russ is going to be a Hall of Famer?
I think Russ will be a Hall of Famer just for the simple fact of he'll have the overall numbers and he's got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, but okay, so if Eli Manning's not first ballot, he's definitely not, right?
Russ won't be first ballot, but I think he'll get in eventually.
No. Now, can we keep him out just because he's corny? Like, is that?
I
mean, we're keeping out like Terrell Owens and people that are actual Hall of Famers because they didn't like their antics. So can we keep out this guy that's a fringe guy because he's corny?
But see, this is something the writers like Russ. So Russ is going to get in.
That's so lame. It should be. I don't know. I don't know how to do it better, but I know the writers shouldn't be the ones voting on this. But it should be former players or something.
Yeah, but here's the problem: you're not going to give up the writers guild or whatever it is for the NFL is not giving that up. So
yeah, well, fuck you. We'll create our own Hall of Fame then. Call it the Players Hall of Fame, and it'll be more respected because you guys keep putting people like Russell Wilson in.
But see,
and you still won't put Clay Matthews in. Unbelievable.
Clay Matthews is not getting in the Hall of Fame.
He should.
The Hall of Fame thing is that I don't try to do the whole the super big debate about it because I think that they don't need to put people in every year. That's my opinion.
I mean, there's probably at least a couple people every year that are worthy.
I feel like you really have to be a game changer to be in the Hall of Fame.
Like this year, who they put in Antonio Gates, obviously should have been a first ballot. Who else did they put in? They didn't put Eli in, which
No.
okay, he not a first ballot. I forget who else, but there's always at least somebody you can put in. Like, and honestly, if you don't get in on your first ballot, I don't think you should get in.
Well, the whole Hall of Fame thing, Major League Baseball has ruined it because they've turned it into a spectacle more than anything.
Well, the baseball one's totally different. You guys got to get rid of this steroid era bias, because without steroids, baseball is very mediocre. So go ahead and put the steroid guys in because they were excellent. Like Barry Bonds absolutely should be in. He was one of the best hitters without steroids, by far the best hitter with steroids. Roger Clemens, like all those guys, like they were incredible players.
See, that's my thing. Like, there's a lot of guys that use the juice that nobody talks about. Like David Ortiz had failed PED tests.
Yeah.
And he's in, but you know why he's in is because people like him.
Yeah. Well, he's a media guy, right?
It's a popularity contest, and people
it's stupid.
People think I lie when I talk about it.
The last half or the last three, Nick Foles he won a Super Bowl, got himself a statue. That's commendable. Kirk Cousins, the next Browns quarterback, and then Kellen Moore, who's now the Saints head coach. I mean, just what a weird class. I mean,
the weird thing with that list is think of it this way: Kirk Cousins and RG3 were drafted by the same team in the same draft class. Like,
yeah, and they got it right.
It's just like put that on for size.
Yeah, as long as it's a level playing field. Yeah, I think Irish for life. I agree. I think you know what they should do. I think if I'm baseball, just get rid of the steroid rule. Let them all take steroids. Fuck it. No, nobody wants to see the boring shit you've been putting out the past 8 years, 10 years, anyways. It was way more fun when Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were going for 65 homers a year. And you had Roger Clemens and the pitchers using steroids too. The only one that wasn't was Pedro, and he was mowing them down anyways.
Here's my only argument to the steroid thing. If the steroid thing was such an egregious act, do you know they didn't really make them give back any of the money? Because that's the whole reason they did it.
There was no testing.
Well,
you can't make them, like, it's not in their contract.
And here's the thing, like they would have them, like the 60-day ban, and they put in the stiff penalties.
That's later, yeah.
But my thing is that how many of those guys out and out wrote a check for $10 million? None of them did. If it was that big of a deal to Major League Baseball, they would have fined the crap out of them. They didn't fine them hardly at all. They didn't fine them at all.
No. Well, no, because it wasn't illegal. They couldn't. It was like steroid era. There was nothing that said they couldn't take steroids. They just decided, oh, this is getting bad. We need to start testing for it. And so they started testing for it, and then they popped them, and they're like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. And they're like, well, whoever told us we couldn't do that? Like,
exactly.
Damn. But yeah, exactly, Irish. Don't tell me they didn't know. Everybody knew. It was just when the public became aware that it became a problem, because the public was like, well, they're cheating. And the baseball was like, but don't you like it? No? Okay, we'll stop it.
Well,
but the All Drug Olympics is hilarious. If you haven't watched that SNL skit, go watch it. That is hilarious. I agree. But
I look at the steroid guys, and I just think to myself, I'm like, they never gave back any significant fines, so there was really no deterrent. The Hall of Fame was the only thing you were not going to get. And realistically, in my opinion, the Hall of Fame for Major League Baseball is kind of a joke because you don't have Pete Rose in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think you should let him in at this point, but that's a little different. At least he did something that was known illegal.
Well, it's not what Pete Rose did that was so bad. It was the cover up is.
Well, I think what he did is pretty bad, but
the cover up's always worse than the crime.
yeah. All right. We got another guy hopping in and joining us here. Let's add him to the show. What's up, Rich?
What up, boys? Happy Wednesday.
Not much, man. Happy Wednesday. But yeah, I think ultimately baseball just needs to let everybody in, and it's fine. I sucked with or without the steroids. Well, the steroids can only do so much, right? They don't help between the ears. But not saying you were bad because of that. But in other news, let's move on from that topic and get into my favorite, not my favorite, former Browns wide receiver.
Oh,
Kadarius Toney. This guy can't get it right.
Where's his eyebrows?
Well, they're very thin eyebrows. Very thin eyebrows, I think, or no eyebrows at all. But was arrested, allegedly strangled a woman. I mean, this guy's a train wreck, right? Like, what are we doing?
I don't know.
First round pick, all from Greece.
Yeah, who picked him? The Giants, right? Giants picked him in the first round.
Chris Drew's Giants.
I think that before it gets too overblown, I think that it's an unfortunate situation, and for me, I think you just got to let the facts play out.
Yeah, not jumping to conclusions or anything. Nobody, who knows what happened or what went on. But I mean, if you're an NFL team, you just steer clear of this guy at this point, right? Guy can't catch the football anyways.
I think that you have to vet it properly, but I don't know. Kareem Hunt came back to the NFL.
Okay, here's the difference between Kareem Hunt and this guy. Kareem Hunt led the NFL in rushing yards, was a really good running back. This guy can't catch a football. Really bad wide receiver. Can't stay on a team. Why would you even put yourself in a position to have that media circus when he's just going to drop the ball anyways?
Well, when it comes down to it, I mean, being a crap human being and a good football player go hand in hand.
Not always. You can be a crap human. You can be a crap human being and suck at football. Trust me, there's plenty of those.
Well, you have the whole Alvin Kamara situation. Assaulting people in Las Vegas. Do you think Hey, that's fine. I mean, the only person that's really got in any significant trouble by the NFL for doing anything egregious is Ray Rice. And I don't think we need to. I mean,
that video was bad.
And not to mention the Ray Rice thing, the NFL completely botched that because they lied about it. And then the tape got released and it was like, oh no, let's ban him for life. And it's like,
well, and also, let's not forget, he was on the tail end of his career anyways. So he was only going to be relevant for another couple years.
2014, so makes sense.
But
I mean, Plexico went away and came back for shooting himself because he has terrible firearm training.
I drafted him on my
hold a gun. Dude doesn't know how to hold a gun. That's not on anybody else. At least he only shot himself. But all right. But enough of that. The main event. Well, before we get to the main event, did you guys see what happened over the Super Bowl weekend with Patrick Mahomes Sr. and John Rocker?
I don't understand. I don't get it. What's
not to get? What don't you get?
Why why doesn't Mahomes Sr. like John Rocker? I
So
don't
they
understand.
played baseball against each other. So he's known him for like 30 years. And they just so what happened was they've known each other a long time. Apparently on Twitter, John Rocker ignored something that Patrick Mahomes Sr. said. They were all out after the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes Sr. is crying because the Chiefs lost. And John Rocker went up and to say what's up. And he's kind of a troll. And so Patrick Mahomes Sr. didn't really like that he was coming up to say what's up to him. And so they got into a little scuffle on Bourbon Street, a little argument. And then John Rocker took to Twitter and was like, this guy's a bitch, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes Sr. said, dude, you haven't changed in 25 years. You're a piece of shit. And John Rocker was like, you wouldn't say that to my face. And so who else but David Portnoy steps in?
Oh,
Love
I don't know
it.
if you saw this little beef on Bourbon, the beef on Bourbon Street this past weekend. John Rocker and Pat Mahomes Sr. going at it, almost broke out in a fight. I guess they fucking hated each other since their playing days baseball. I mean, I guess not surprising. Everyone has beef with John Rocker. But they signed the fucking paperwork. Guess what we got, boys and girls? Rough and Rowdy, April 19th, Wheeling, West Virginia. Bad Friday. Two guys, none of this like, I liked Tyson, Jake Paul. They're great. They're fucking making up and like fucking each other after the fight. This is real bad blood. And just to show that I don't hold grudges, I know Patty Mahomes, the Super Bowl guy, the guy who just got doors blown off, said he hated Barstool. Well, now your dad's fighting in our company against John Rocker, so I'm going to save a seat, free of charge. Patty Mahomes and crew, no bad blood. We can make up, watch your dad fight. That's an open invite. You say you don't like us, I get your dad to fight John Rocker and Rough and Rowdy. April 19th. Man.
Hey, hate him or love him. Hate him or love him, Dave Portnoy is the king of trolling and promotion. Like he just does a great job. So April 19th, you're going to be able to tune into Barstool and you're going to get to see John Rocker, who is roided out of his mind, take on Pat Mahomes Sr. And Irish for Life says it right here. John Rocker's ripped. I think he would crush. Yeah, I don't think Mahomes Sr. knows what's about to hit him because John Rocker was taking steroids in the baseball days and he hasn't stopped.
No, Rocker doesn't take steroids.
Oh, yes, he does.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just chicken and rice every day.
Yeah, take one look at him and yeah. But
Trust me, he follows me on Twitter.
I haven't watched a single Rough and Rowdy. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds fun.
I'm watching that.
Oh, I'd love to watch that.
Yes.
But
Joseph asks, go ahead. Go ahead.
Real quick before we hop into more serious topics, but could you imagine Patrick Mahomes' PR team sitting there?
Oh, they're so pissed.
Oh, dude, I guarantee you.
The PR team is going to Pat Jr. or whatever, and he's like, hey, I know we told you that your brother had to stop dancing and your wife had to stop being a cunt, but now we need your dad to just shut the fuck up. Like, you took care of the other two. You got to go take care of this guy because getting DUIs and fighting John Rocker on Barstool isn't doing anything for your media image.
Bad look.
Yeah. But Irish, is this for real? Yeah, it's for real. They signed the paperwork. Both parties, John Rocker and Patrick Mahomes Sr., signed the paperwork with Rough and Rowdy. It's locked in. April 19th.
And Friday.
Let's get to some more serious stuff, some more actual conversations here. Joseph asked a good question here. Any new names or updates on GM? No. And Sid answered it, no. I got nothing so far. I mean, I have been pressing people that I don't normally press. I've been asking questions. There has been very little movement on that front, which makes me a little nervous, honestly. I wish there was more movement, but I'm sure they're doing their due diligence, and they have – I can't imagine that Marcus went into the search for a GM with one name and one name only, and when that one struck out is completely lost. Like, I just don't think that's possible. So I'm sure they're going to have names floating out there soon. I'm pretty confident that they're already talking to people. I just don't think it's been made public knowledge or anything like that. But outside of that, the big news before we get into Notre Dame stuff is, obviously, we talked about it a little bit. We talked about it. You guys talked about it yesterday, I believe. But Matt Patricia is the new defensive coordinator of the Ohio State Buckeyes, with Tim Walton being named co-defensive coordinator and Matt Gurrier being named pass game coordinator. I just want initial reactions.
I'm lukewarm about it. Because Patricia, he inherited that defense in New England, with Belichick. He wasn't a good head coach when he was in Detroit. So I'm kind of curious to see what type of scheme he brings down to Columbus, what they try to do with that roster. It's gonna be interesting. It might be a different culture shock when it comes, what they're trying to do with Ohio State with reloading that defense. See if they can get guys to buy in, because they had Knowles down there for 3 years, and they were turned into the number one most formidable defense in the nation. So it's gonna. I think it's gonna. My expectations are kind of mid right now. I'm kind of uneasy.
Okay, fair enough. Duke.
I think that there's already a built-in excuse made for Patricia, and is it strange that they're only hiring guys out of the northeast part of the state or the United States? Everybody's came from that neck of the woods. Bill O'Brien, Boston guy. Patricia, upstate New York guy. I think that one of the reasons why he was thought of so high at New England is because he was Skarnecki's assistant to the offensive line, and Skarnecki was the associate head coach for 17 years for Belichick. So I mean, if he keeps on saying this is a good dude, I mean, outside of that, it's hard to argue with it. But has Patricia won Super Bowls? Yeah. But then again, you also have to remember that it was a complete and utter failure as a head coach. Eric Mangini, failure. Romeo Cornell, even though I like Rack, failure. Charlie Weiss, seen that song and dance, failure. A lot of the guys that have came out of there, Bill O'Brien's been probably the most successful. I mean, he rode the ship at Penn State, did okay at Houston. Now he's back in college. I think it was Boston College, but we'll see if he completely craters. But if you notice something that's funny is it took Vrabel getting a head coaching job in New England for Josh McDaniels to get a job in the NFL. That should tell you something. Matt Patricia did such a good job at Philadelphia, they didn't ask him to come back. But, I mean, is Ryan Day trying to do the fun thing and, try to start a rehabilitation school? Well, I don't know if it's a rehabilitation school because all the guys you fired to get there. Last time I checked that, when Saban was doing his thing in Alabama, he wasn't completely firing the person that gave him the job's son-in-law. He wasn't at odds with an ex-running backs coach. I mean, Jim Knowles left the way he did. I mean, I seen a thumbnail today that said he was banned from coming to the national championship celebration.
He absolutely was. If you aren't with us, you're against us.
So I think that if you want to be that petty at times, I think it all comes around full circle. And you got a game at the end of the schedule that you've lost 4 times in a row. Are you going to make it? You going to go 5 for 5 with that? I mean, I get it. You won
outside all that.
I mean, I get it. You won the national championship, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, you have, some of your top assistants jumping ship on you. Your mentor left after 1 year. I don't blame Chip Kelly for leaving. I'd go
No,
take $6
that was
million.
always the plan.
Oh yeah.
That was always the plan, and Ryan knew that. But I'll say this about Matt Patricia, because first of all, I don't give a fuck how he is as a head coach. I didn't hire him to be one. Don't care. Go 0-16 for all I care as a head coach. Means nothing to me. What I do know about him is he knows ball. He's got a good acumen for football. He's a very smart individual from everybody I've talked to. He knows football, and players love him. So as far as his system goes, he runs a very hybrid system, a lot of hybrid fronts. He's going to run 3 down, 4 down, all different things. A lot of 2-gap system, some man with cover 1, cover 3. Going to be very multiple on defense, which fits what Ohio State's athletic profile is. My biggest problem with Jim Knowles as a defense coordinator was that he wasn't multiple enough. He didn't utilize a lot of the athletes he had at times. Now, he did a great job this year and has done a great job as a coach. But if you have Ohio State's athleticism, you should be able to run a 3-3-5. You should be able to run a 3-4. You should be able to run a 4-3. You should be able to run bear. You should be able to run whatever the fuck you want, because you have athletes at every position too deep. So learn how to coach the guys and get them ready, because the fact CJ Hicks can't see the field is a fucking travesty. That's mismanagement by the coaches. That kid is an absolute fucking phenom athlete, and you can't get him on the field. Why? Because he doesn't know coverages. Well, fucking don't have him covered then.
Yeah,
line him up at edge.
Yeah.
So I think one thing you're going to get is you're going to get a lot of these players unleashed. You're going to see a lot of these athletes get unleashed and it might lead to big plays. They're going to give up big plays or something because of it, but it's going to be very different. I personally think it's a good hire. I think it's better than elevating Walton or Matt G to DC. I think that would have just been a slow burn. But either way, I mean, however you feel about it, you can't do anything about it. It's he's trying to find his Chip Kelly of the defense, right? Bring him in for a year or two and let him go. And I think they found it.
I think it's an 18-month shelf life, just like with Hartline. It's either going to be really, really good, and he'll elevate and he'll move through the ranks, or he'll completely crater and Ryan Day will fire him, and it'll be somebody else's fault. But it'll be one of those. Who the hell hired this guy?
Yeah, I'm with you. But let's get into the last thing here real quick. Before we do, if you're out there on Twitter, come on over to YouTube, get in the chat. We got Irish for Life, Joe, Sid, a lot of the usual suspects, some new guys. Corey's in here. Come check it out. Get active in the chat. Ask us questions, comments, whatever. We throw them up here on the screen. Get everybody involved. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the like on the episode button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notifications. That way you get notified anytime we go live. Like Duke said earlier, we're blowing this thing up. We're going to hit 500 before the spring game, and then we're going to do something cool for the spring game. Maybe a live show from South Bend or something like that. We'll see. But did Notre Dame possibly figure out kind of the blueprint or the cheat code to sustainability in this day and age? And the reason I ask that is obviously Ohio State gave everybody kind of a blueprint for how you win a natty, right? Bring back all your roster, pay them a bunch of money, add in the transfer portal, go on a run. Right, that's kind of the modern blueprint for how you win a natty in college football. Retain talent, add talent in the transfer portal, recruit well, right? Well, Notre Dame may have just unlocked the next step to that, where you retain your talent, you add talent in the portal, but you also play a lot of young guys. So I don't know if you know this, but here's a graphic for you. It is the most true freshman snaps played in college football last year. Number one, you have Clemson with almost 3,500 snaps. And then you got Oklahoma, Auburn. But Notre Dame, who was in the national championship game, had almost 3,000 snaps played by true freshmen. Now, why would that be important in today's day and age with transfer portal and NIL?
I would raise you the reason why that is important is because that people want to get on the field, and you know who doesn't rotate players enough?
A lot of teams, but yeah.
It was one of the big things it was Jim Knowles. Go back and look at the Oregon game.
Yep. But yeah, but the reason, so like my thing is like with this, you know who's not transferring? A true freshman that played a bunch of snaps.
Yeah.
He's not transferring, right? He might be able to be a starter at another school, but he could look and be like, man, I wasn't a starter and I played 400 snaps last year or however many. Like, I'm going to get playing time. I'm going to stick here where I know my worth. I know I'm valued. I know the system, and I know we're going to compete. And so all this does is lock those younger players in so that they don't leave, which is why you haven't had a mass exodus of young players at Notre Dame. You had a bunch of players who were probably not going to start next year leave, which is expected. But these young players are staying. So you add that in with the ability to retain top talent, with the ability to add in the transfer portal, with the ability to recruit at a high level. And now you have a bunch of true freshmen that have played almost 3,000 snaps of college football, including playoff experience, coming back next year. Are they going to be phased when they're down late in the game next year against whoever? Let's say it's Texas or not Texas. Let's say it's USC or whoever next year.
Right.
Clemson, Miami. Like, are they going to be phased by that? Absolutely not.
No, and I'm not buying the. I think you're going to see less movement in the spring portal. I don't think you'll see as much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think there's going to be as much. But I just thought that was interesting. And let's see here. ND schedule before Halloween is nuts. Yeah, it is weird. But on those USC home games, it's always kind of that way because USC refuses to come to South Bend after October 20th or whatever. So it's always front loaded. And then the second half of the season is a little easier. Kelly was terrible Kelly's terrible at a lot of things, but yeah, he didn't let the young guys play. Maybe because they thought they were unionized. Yeah, that's facts. But outside of that, we do have some movement on the recruiting front, as well as Jason Onye is full go for spring practice, which is huge for the defensive line. He's coming back from an injury, and they were worried he wouldn't be able to go. He's full go, going to be go. Jordan Botello is coming back for his 6th year. He's going to be an absolute stud if he stays healthy. And then I don't know if you guys saw this, but Rodney Dunham, who I believe is the number 2 edge rusher in the 2026 class, after the Natty, moved Notre Dame into his top spot on his list.
Hey, that's a win.
That's a win. And I don't want to get too ahead of it because this is just like last year when we went into spring, Notre Dame's recruiting class, number 1 in the nation, all that stuff. But getting a couple guys like Rodney Dunham to commit is massive for your momentum. And we'll go through it again. I promise you, Notre Dame's recruiting class is going to be tops in the nation here in a couple months. And we'll go through it again, and we'll warn you. And I will try my best to not be too pessimistic just because I've seen this story a few too many times. But the good thing about Dunham is that's a position where Notre Dame should close, right? Like defensive end, defensive line, offensive line, defensive positions in general. You should be able to close those because of the track record you have putting people in the league and just what this defense has been. But they're going to need to close a couple big names like a wide receiver or something like that this offseason. And I really hope that happens. And I think you're right, Irish. Actually, I said injury. I think it was personal issues as well. I don't know why I thought, but yeah, it'll be good to see he's back and he's ready to go. He will help out a lot, especially with the defensive line that's kind of losing some major pieces like Riley Mills and Howard Cross and things like that. I mean, But you got a lot of young talent coming back. You got to be happy. I'm excited, man. The spring is coming quick. Spring ball is only like 3-4 weeks away, man.
Yeah, I'm just hoping there's not a last minute cancellation.
They can't cancel spring ball. Like they can cancel the spring game. I don't really give a fuck about that. But
yeah,
I mean, I like to go and have fun and go to the game. But like, spring games are so overrated. Coaches don't even care.
I think that like what you've seen Old Miss do with the hot dog eating contest and other things of that ilk, I think that's what your spring game is gonna be.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to when people were actually hitting, but that's not going to happen.
Well,
Yeah, I agree, Carter. Like the circle drill back in the urban days.
Oh my God, you lined them up in the Oklahoma drill and fucking just
Kenny G and Braxton.
oh
Or no, it was JT.
fucking
No, it was
awesome.
JT and Kenny G.
Yeah,
And Kenny G just lit up JT.
it's
Yeah.
never.
Fuck that. Bring it back. Stop
what I
that
say.
shit, man.
I don't think it's soft. I think they should dump the whole spring concept just for
It's soft as fuck.
They should dump the spring concept and have OTAs just like the NFL. Have one portal period.
You want to get rid of spring practice?
Yeah, I do.
Watch how bad the football is that you have to watch.
Why wouldn't you have OTAs in July? So we're going to have practice in April and then not do anything until camp.
Well, they still do stuff.
Why not just follow the NFL model?
Well, first of all, they aren't in school.
Exactly. So why can't they have OTAs?
Well,
Why do we need to have spring 15 practices in the spring and then end it with a spring game? They don't have a spring game in the NFL.
They don't have a players union.
Yes, if you contractualize all the players, give them a union, sure, you could make them come back to campus in the middle of July when they're on summer break and force them to practice.
You like
Players
that
aren't gonna
NIL
like
money,
it.
don't you?
Players aren't going to like it, but you could do that.
Yeah, you like the NIL money, don't you?
Not as much as I like my summers.
I
You're
don't know.
You're going to pay me
Either want to
pay
get
me
paid.
that money either way. I'm fucking Jeremiah Smith.
I just
Watch
I
how
don't
many players
I don't
like Jeremiah
understand
Smith opt out of OTAs.
I don't.
Oh, so many.
What do you mean? People opt out of everything. They don't even play in the NFL. They don't even play in the NBA. Everybody just
college
opts out.
isn't the NFL. We got to realize that. Like they need this development.
It's getting that way. Didn't
Yeah, I
Nicholas
know.
Castellanos take 2 days off and not be around the team and then hit the transfer portal?
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
know. Who gives a fuck about Nick Castellanos? Oh, and a deep drive to left by Castellanos.
It's
gone.
Yeah.
Good old Brenneman.
It's a complete and utter joke because you're giving these 17, 18-year-old kids hundreds of thousands of dollars, nice cars, and you can't make them practice. Like, what are we doing?
We talking
Like
about
at some point, there's people that sit around the table and look at this model and say it's dumb. Because it realistically,
everybody knows it is.
And
I think everybody knows it is, but how do you change it? What do you want to do?
I don't know what the get off the boat point is going to be. Where's the buck going to stop? And
I'll tell you when it is. When it financially makes sense for universities to change it, they will change it. Because now making them employees would cost them a whole hell of a lot more than doing spring practice.
And their house settlement stuff. I don't know if you guys have been watching that, but if they think they're getting revenue sharing in July or whatever, good luck to you. Good luck to you. I know no one cares about that, but when in the winter portal, if they have it, you have like 30 kids from one school all hit the portal because they didn't get paid, and they're going to say, "What's wrong with that school?" Well, they didn't get their revenue sharing like they were promised by the SEC and Big Ten, and said, "This is all going to be done." Yep. Yeah, way to go, Greg. it's not going to be rainbows, butterflies, and My Little Ponies, and then I'm not going to be here, fielding the. Did you see this university didn't pay this kid? Yeah, because they don't have any money.
Yep, but they still do. But yeah,
because what the Department of Education tell them. Just because you're a high revenue producing sport doesn't mean you're going to get out of your legal obligation.
Yeah. Well, they're already trying to get rid of Title IX now. I don't know if you saw that, but they're reversing Biden's Title IX rules.
Yeah, but it still doesn't.
They're slowly trying to wind it back.
It still doesn't solve your problem.
No, it's just the first step. But yeah, I'm with you, Sid. I'm hoping college football doesn't become NFL light. That's where it's headed. I love college football for so many reasons. So Irish, what about revenue sharing, 100K per player? How's that going to affect AD budgets, especially at OSU? If it was just for football, yes, you could do it tomorrow. Not even a problem. The problem is, in order to offer a football player 100K, you have to offer every athlete at the university 100K. So, I mean, that's just Title IX, like just how it is. Like if you pay one athlete, you have to pay them all, and so it's going to be a legal battle. And it doesn't matter if your sport is men's fencing that operates at negative $1 million a year, or men's basketball, which operates at a profit. Doesn't matter. You all have to be paid if one's going to be paid. And is revenue sharing coming from the schools or the conferences? Yes. I mean, ultimately it comes from the schools, but they're paying it based off profit or based off the conference revenue. But again, like I said, it goes way deeper because all athletes have to be paid, not just the for-profit sports.
And I think that they could, good luck repealing Title IX. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, they won't. I mean, they already have all of the.
That's not even
all of that side up in arms about the fact that they're trying to repeal just Biden's little piece of it, which doesn't really do anything. But they're trying to slowly roll it back. And yeah, many programs will be cut. Yeah, unfortunately, that's where we're headed. They're going to have to get rid of sports. They're going to have to keep it. The way Title IX is written now, they're going to have to keep equal number of men's and women's programs. So what they're going to do is they're going to cut as many programs as possible, and then they're going to cut some of the men's programs that they would like to keep and keep some of the women's programs that they don't want to keep, just to make it even. But they're going to have to cut more than they want to in order to make that happen.
So
that's just the reality of it. I'm not pro negative with what a pro con. Whatever. But that's the reality of it. If you want to pay these kids, you're going to have to get rid of sports. And they're going to have to be club sports. And so that synchronized swimming team you love so much that won the Natty is going to be a club sport, and that's just life.
The way it was explained to me is that you're probably going to have you might have baseball at some schools, but probably not. So you're not going to have – everything will be gone except probably men's and women's basketball.
Men's and women's basketball, football – and then they'll keep like volleyball or softball.
Yeah. So you'll have 4 collegiate sports.
That's the drastic version, but yeah, that's probably where it's at.
No, that's more or less. Yeah. That's more or less what it's going to be, because the athletic departments aren't going to be able to sustain that, or some of the schools are looking for.
Bro. So a trans volleyball player gets paid the same as yours. Yes, in the current, although I think that's illegal now. I don't think you're allowed to be trans and play women's volleyball anymore.
No, I just, but if they're not scholarship.
Well, so actually college got rid of the walk-on. So now everybody is a scholarship player pretty much. And no, if you're on the roster, you get paid regardless of the scholarship status.
Yeah, because and they don't even even sign national letters of intent anymore. The only thing they have is
what they did is they got rid of the walk-ons or preferred walk-ons or whatever, and then they expanded the rosters from 85 to 105. to give everybody, but with the understanding that all 105 players are going to be paid with revenue sharing money.
I don't know where the bottom falls out of this, but
it's going too quick, and they're going to have to figure
I
it out.
think you're only going to have a handful of programs by the end of it.
I mean, I think every program will find a way to make it work. It's just you're not going to be able to get rid of NIL. So, like,
I think you'll probably
any program that operates at a profit is going to find a way to make it work, right? Because you don't want to lose your cash cow.
I think you'll have probably realistically maybe 25, 30 programs
that can compete.
No, that will exist.
Oh God, you're talking about dropping it from 134 to 35?
Yeah.
No way they let that happen. They'll find a way around it. No way. No way.
Because some places like
they'll create a new division at that point, and they'll have those 35, 40 programs go into the Super League, and then everybody else will have no revenue sharing.
No, they're not going to be able to if the model that everybody wants with the revenue sharing, they're not going to be able to afford it.
Well, then I don't give a fuck about the model everybody wants. Guess what? All those players aren't going to be taken by the top 40 schools, so they're going to be clamoring for any opportunity to go to college.
There's going to be places. There's going to be places like I'm just using an example like Wake Forest. They don't care about football. They literally do not care. I
understand, but
Boston
the players
College,
that go there do. Boston College cares a lot about football, actually. That's why they're money invested in it.
That's why they've been great in the last 25 years, and the stadiums are packed, and their NIL
Boston College. It's Boston College.
Exactly. That's my point. No one cares.
No, but they care.
That what the 10,000 people that show up? It looks like a JV football.
No. The people, the money people, the people in charge of the university care a lot about Boston College football. Trust me.
I mean,
Bill O'Brien wouldn't go there.
I think it's because he didn't have to move. I think that has a lot to do with it, but
no.
I think it does. I really do.
Davis here has a good point. You're missing how much it is valuable to schools, not for income, but for advertising and everything like that. Trust me.
There's a lot of places that don't care. Like I know that like we care about college football, but there's like big money people and big money presidents that see this as a financial whole. And they will get rid of it because it doesn't make money.
That's fine. And when their attendance rates, when their enrollment rates, when everything else goes down because they don't offer football, they'll realize real quick that was stupid.
You're going to have about 25 programs is what you're going to have that can sustain the model to pay everybody.
Yes, I don't disagree with that part.
So how is it going to work between if they have the break off, which they're going to get, which that's going to be held up in court forever. It's just crazy to me that people think that they're going to be able to do this. They're going to be able to break off into their own thing and say, no, we don't want to be part of you anymore. Okay, well then figure out your own funding. And the TV networks and all that go with it. Well, what happens to the small schools? Do you think at Louisiana, you think at Louisiana Lafayette or Louisiana Monroe, what are those kids going to do if they want to transfer into that conference? What is that going to look like? Junior college doesn't even count. Junior college doesn't even count. Does your clock start there from the breakoff schools and then you come back to the group of 5 schools? How is any of that going to work?
Time will tell.
Because I asked the people these questions and it's like, somebody said, I haven't really thought of that. And I said, now what the hell are we doing here? Like, you guys don't even know how the breakoff is going to happen, but yet you're trying to get a house settlement and you're going to have people break off and agree to a financial number that the other side hasn't agreed to. And like, we think this is a good idea. Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm just saying that just doesn't make any sense. People aren't living in reality here. You don't think you're not going to get sued, and then on top of the thousands of Olympic athletes that aren't going to sue on top of this? There ain't going to be no money left.
Well, I don't know what they're suing for, but yeah.
Because it's not fair. That's the whole
Life's
problem.
Not fair. Get the fuck over it.
If
Your
that's
sport doesn't make money. I'm sorry.
Yes, we want to make money, so we want to have 35. We want to have 35 college football programs. That's all we're going to have.
Oh no.
That's all you're going to have because there's going to be nobody that can afford to do it on the model.
Whose fault is that other than the athletes?
What? I don't know why you're so against taking. I don't know why you're so pro taking fucking opportunities away from kids. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, because those opportunities have to be paid for by somebody.
In the current model, everything seems to be working until you added NIL in there, and then you add.
No. It was working until the athletes wanted to be paid for their contributions.
They should be paid.
Well, then how are you going to pay them? That's how we got here.
They should keep it through the collectives. That's what should happen.
So you want to just keep the current.
The current system sucks too, but they should.
But that's what you're arguing for.
It's better. It's better than taking opportunities away from thousands of kids out there.
But
it's
yeah. I mean, okay, that's fine. I don't give a fuck. My school's one of the big boys. We can do it either way, so I don't care. I'm good either way.
I mean, I don't think it. It won't sustain for anybody because there's nobody that has any of this worked out. And it's not that worked out yet. It's way more unorganized than what you guys think it is. And they think
I understand that, but I'm saying
meeting, you know what they're talking about? What are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about that? Nobody really knows because nobody knows.
But there's no good answer, right?
Do. Yeah, there's
no good answer.
There's no concrete plan. It's going to take so long to get this shit figured out. It's going to take years to figure out.
Yeah. So let me get to these questions and we'll get out of here. I think the NCAA should be chipping in for this. I'll answer that in a second.
So. No.
Duke, relax. I'll answer that in a second.
No way.
What does the NCAA actually do? So here's the thing about college football and the NCAA that you guys need to understand. The NCAA makes zero off of college football. Absolutely not a dime. College football has always been separate. The NCAA's operating budget is like $1.2 billion, and that is majority funded by March Madness. They make absolutely nothing off college football, never have, because college football was already established when the NCAA became a thing, and college football said, fuck you, we don't need you. If you want to govern us, that's fine. Helps your brand for us to be part of the NCAA, but you are not taking any of our money. So they make nothing. The college football playoff, separate entity from the NCAA. All the money that goes in the college football playoff goes to the schools. NCAA makes nothing off college football. What do? They govern. I mean, they make a couple bucks for like as a management fee or whatever, like governing college football or whatever, but nothing. They absolutely do nothing. Number of applications, yeah. Revenue sharing is just Division I, correct. Capitalism sucks sometimes. Yeah, as far as like schools that don't make or sports that don't make money. Sorry about that. I agree they should be paid. Who is making all of the billions of dollars of revenue? So the fact is, and this is what, like, there's so much money in college football. So let me start with that because there's so much. However, the way that money gets spent is absolutely crazy. So a lot of it goes to facilities. A lot of it goes to coaches. But the vast majority of it goes to funding all these other sports. So the reason that Ohio State has 36 varsity sports is because men's basketball and college football allow them to afford that. Right. So all the money goes to the athletic department. The athletic department is part of the university, which is a not-for-profit. They aren't allowed to make a profit. So they have to spend that money. So what do? They build new facilities. They fund other sports. They fund research. They do all this other stuff with that money. Now, if you're going to talk about paying these players with the billions of dollars of revenue that they bring in, That's going to be less money available to upgrade facilities, less money available to offer scholarships to sports that don't fund themselves, which is every other collegiate sport not named basketball or football at most schools, sometimes baseball. Those are the only 3 sports across America that are profitable, that fund themselves. Every other sport operates at a loss. So in order for those sports to exist, you have to have football to carry the weight of those sports. So that's where the money goes. What does the NCAA do that justifies $1.5 billion budget? Ultimately, what they do is they govern college sports, but they also they do everything to put on the March Madness tournament, which is $1 billion tournament. Like the one year they didn't have it in 2020, the NCAA had to take out loans to pay their bills. So that's the only thing they do. The NCAA is a joke. It's a farce. It doesn't exist. It's a fugazi. But that's what they do. That's how it works. But yeah, it's a mess of a situation. But there's no good answer. The best answer there is if you have to pay these people, you're gonna have to cut sports. That's the only answer. And I don't want to take, just so everybody knows, because Duke makes it seem like I hate kids. Like I want to take opportunities away from kids.
I mean, that's what you're going to have to do in order to keep 30-some
I'm sorry,
programs.
but like, you know what? If my daughter comes to me and is like, man, I'm one of the best volleyball players in the world, but I can't get a scholarship, I'll be like, hey, it's a hard lesson to learn. But when you get really good at something that nobody gives a fuck about, nobody's going to pay you to do it. I'm sorry, you have to learn that at 17 years old. But guess what? I was planning on paying for college anyway, so go wherever you want and play volleyball. You're good.
I think that the House versus NCAA is not going to end up. It's not going to end up the way people are going to want. It's not going to end up the way people want it to. And then, you know how nice it is to watch, 40 different games on a Saturday instead of watching 16 every Sunday. It's the same thing over and over again. It doesn't change. But,
Yeah, and this is a good point. OSU's athletic department lost $37 million last year alone. That's without paying a single player. All that NIL money, the $20 million roster, not included.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, and I preface this, understand that OSU is also a public university that is not allowed to turn a profit. If they made $37 million in the Wexner Medical Center, they have to lose $37 million somewhere else. They can't have a profit. So it's all fake money at that point.
Monopoly money.
Yeah, it's financial, like it's accounting. It's what I went to study. I could make you look like you made $1 million and Duke look like you lost $1 million, and you guys could have made the same amount of money. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last thing I got on this is that it's for the people that are on Twitter that are thinking that this is solved and that we're going to have this in July or whatever. It's not going to happen. I'm just telling you fundamentally.
They'll figure out a stopgap for the next 12 months while they figure it out.
I think you're going to have to probably file a TRO and pray.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they've already got close to 600 lawsuits that they got to hear separately on top of this. And that's just the beginning. And that's not even – that's just the Title IX stuff. They're still accepting lawsuits on the pay, and that's not even – they're not even really getting into the college football players that are lining up willing to file lawsuits on this. So it just – I don't know what to tell you, but good luck.
Watching women's rugby finals. Anybody watching the women's rugby finals on the ESPN The Ocho tonight? No. Can I bet on it? If I can bet on it, I might watch it.
But Yeah, I ain't got nothing else.
All right.
I'm good. I got nothing else. I know I joined late, but a little craziness up here.
Yeah, no worries. Everybody feeling okay? Everybody doing better?
I
Getting there,
think it's
hopefully.
its way around.
Yeah. That's the worst.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the worst. My oldest Hayden missed school Tuesday and then went for like a couple hours today and got called down to the nurses. It's that time of year. Stay healthy.
agony.
Lots of vitamin C,
an ugly
zinc, all
thing.
that shit.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
What?
let's get out of here. We've been doing it for an hour and a half. These people are probably sick of hearing us talk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, hit that like and subscribe button, and everybody have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.